and Khodabandeh. Why are you here today and what you're trying to achieve?
I come here to speak in a meeting which is titled Mojahedine-E Khalq, Threat in Albania. We're trying to explain and find ways of resolving this problem, that the Mujahideen are in Albania, and what is the actual problem. My perspective is as a person who's been exposing this group for 20 years now as a cult. My real concern above everything else is the human rights aspect. I know that the membership are under great pressure because of the cultic control of the leaders. We work with the families of these people who are trying their best to make contact. The Mujahideen deny them any contact. But beyond that as well, as we've heard from other speakers in this meeting, the Mujahideen are a threat to democracy itself because of the way that they operate in parliaments and with the media. And my presentation today was to try to demonstrate with some numbers about how many Mujahideen we actually know about. We don't know exactly who they are, how many there are, to demonstrate their unaccountability. And that is the fundamental problem with this group, that everybody else in this meeting, whether the audience participants, the speakers, we're all accountable. Somebody will come and say, who are you? What are you doing? When they make accusations against Ana Gomez, against myself, against other people, you're an agent of the Iranian regime. I'm accountable. If my government wants to come and ask me questions, I'm sure that if I was working with Iran, they would have put me in prison by now. We're all accountable, but the Mujahideen are surely not accountable, and that is the threat, because we don't know who they are. If somebody commits a crime, you can fingerprint them, take them to court, but the Mujahideen don't even have an identity. They don't have legal status in Albania. And that should trouble everybody. That should be very worrying. Albania is a NATO country. It cannot be allowed to be exploited and abused in this way by a group over which nobody seems to have any control, not even the services of Albania.
But it's not really Albania's fault, is it? I mean, the MEK were parachuted in by the Americans at the end of the Iraq War.
Indeed, the Mujahideen in Iraq were a big problem for the Americans. I would urge everybody to read a Rand Corporation report called A Policy Conundrum, Mojahedine-E Khalq, A Policy Conundrum. And they analysed what the problem of the Mujahideen was in Iraq. The Americans were wanting to get rid of them, but also support them because they do reflect the fundamental American there's a lot of people in America believe in regime change. They kind of want to be get rid of the Iranian government, and so the Mujahideen were kind of handy tool for them. And Albania, in a way, is a perfect place because it is pretty lawless, as the Albanian speaker said. The state structures are very weak, they're very corruptible, as we've already seen. And
dump the problem somewhere else.
And dump the problem somewhere else. If the Americans want to support a terrorist group, by all means, you know, that's on your head, but go and take them to your own country. Do not dump them on another country. And the people of Albania, when I visited there, were deeply, deeply concerned about the behaviour of the group. They are very strange people, and for a small population like Albania, they were very disturbing. The ordinary people were suspicious, and they're quite rightly too.
And now you, in the meeting, said that, I think it was you, said that they are modern-day slaves.
They are absolutely modern-day slaves. I was recruited by the Mujahideen when I was a 19-year-old student, just before the revolution in 1979. I spent 20 years involved with them as an activist. I was full-time for a time, and I was paid not a penny. They exploited everything I had. I gave them my belongings because that's what they wanted. They wanted not just my belongings, but the person. So you, in a sense, belong to them as their slave, and that means that you have no human rights. You can't get married, you can't think for yourself, you can't form your own opinions. there is just not one single human right in the UN Declaration of Human Rights which actually pertains to you. If that's not a definition of slavery, then I don't know what is.
What is the answer to this conundrum then?
The answer, in many ways, is very simple. It's for the people who support them to stop supporting them. But I don't think that will happen because that's a political problem. The real problem, the real way to solve this is for the agencies inside Albania and in other countries to allow the families of these people to make contact and to open up their camps to the real world. If you go and you say, right, there is an alternative to this camp, there is a place you can go and live, there's some food you can eat, there's a place you can get a job, you can actually have a new life, at least 80% of them would leave. The problem is that there is not that alternative, that nobody's offering them that alternative.
Thank you. Any other points you'd like to make?
I'm just trying to think.
I'll stop for a moment.